All right, so here we have a very late 60s to early 70s Castle Castings air raid siren. And from what I'm told, this is one of 5 in the United States as of now. There could be more though. You don't hear about them, so there very well could be more of these floating around. You just don't know who has them, whose barn they're sitting in, and all that fun stuff. But here, it finally is. And a huge, huge thank you to Paul Lawrence, otherwise known as Attic Boy 11. Check him out. You probably already know who he is. He's got plenty more of these sirens to see in various conditions, various models, you know, like the Carters and the Gents, those sirens. And another thank you to Patrick at TH Weiss. I will say, I have never imported something until now. And the process was so smooth. I'm not sponsoring or, trying to get, anything like that, but if you are in this sort of area, I would say, well, if you're getting something imported and it goes to the O'Hare International Airport, give Patrick a ring. He will definitely make whatever it is that you want to happen. And here it is. So thank you, Paul, and thank you, Patrick. You guys are a huge help in making this happen for me. I've been long awaiting this. And I will say, they are obtainable. And if you know how heavy they are, how big they are, and know what they entail, then you can make it happen. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it, that's for sure. It's kind of a size comparison here. There's a RAV4. There's the tire. And there's the siren. Here's the impeller. It's always the fun part. You know, when you're a kid and you just love to play with fans, obviously keeping safety in mind with how sharp these things are, swing like a clock pendulum. And what I've been told is that a person has lost the tip of their finger lifting one of these. So the best way, well, here, I'll do this first. A little pre-wind there. And while that's going, I'll explain that the stator in there and each impeller and probably the shaft going through that whole thing is at least 100 or so pounds. That being said, if you take the full weight of that siren while it's swinging, per se, like a clock, that's the way Paul explained it to me, which is probably the best analogy, because that's what it do when it is being lifted. So now I can show you here. Yeah, there it is. Do not get your fingers anywhere near that. And when you go to lift this, always be conscious. Well, hopefully you're conscious, but just beware of where you keep your fingers when lifting. I don't even put my thumb on top. I always keep it right here. So if it swings, nothing's in the way. And my fingers are probably a good inch to half inch away, probably far enough away. We'll just put it that way. Keep common sense in mind. Although it's not that common, keep it in mind. So when obtaining one of these, because Paul has his contact information on there, just take seriousness in mind. These things, they're big boy toys, per se, I guess. Keeping safety in mind and everything like that, but I guess in standard terms, they are not toys. They can hurt you. They can hurt you, that's for sure. But they're also a lot of fun. You can see here, I'm already ready to go. Buddy and I are gonna go over and fire this thing up. And for those of you not familiar with US wiring, this is what would be called the standard industrial plug for 220 volts single phase. 3-phase, you'll have one extra prong right here. It's literally the same plug, just missing a prong. And that will be the provider for power. This is just another cord I made up in case, you know, someone wants to hear it and all they have is our residential. This is a residential 220 volt single phase plug for like a dryer. I think it still says dryer on there. Yep, dryer. Some washing machines, mostly older washing machines. And you save big money at Menards and you get yourself one of these. This will be your good converter per se, in case someone doesn't have this plug. So then you get this. And I made this up last night. Got her all nicely bound tight in there. And that'll work just fine. The inverter, another big thank you to Paul's friend and Paul for making this also happen. I just love this UK socket he's got on here. Thanks for the hookup on that, because that is just too cool. I mean, look at this. This is something that I've never seen before, and quite frankly, most of the US probably hasn't, you know, is not familiar with, because yeah, that is too cool. Under restored condition, obviously. Got a nice rotation arrow. Another thing I was told was that this guy here, that nice, very nice builder's plate, is pretty rare in itself, because most of them get painted over, or most of them just wear away and they're never seen again. And I totally forgot what this is called, but it's basically our CD logo, only this is Britain's civil defense logo. So that quite possibly, well, it does state, you know, civil defense in, you know, the UK. And here we go for some fancy specs. See that? 415 volts at 50 hertz. You got 60 volts, or yeah, volts, right. 60 hertz here in the US. That's where this guy comes in. And it's neat. It's literally a variac, only for 3-phase, 50 hertz power. And it's very simple. I got everything all wired up in there. There's an R terminal and there's a T terminal, I'm pretty sure. I put the white one, our hot, I'm pretty sure, and then our black. Probably wrong on that, but you can flip them around if the rotation's wrong, which it's no big deal. And do a little research, but yeah, just keeping in mind that these things are very cool and they are obtainable. If you want one of these, again, just keep seriousness in mind and, you know, you can make it happen. It's honestly, the time went by so fast that it almost feels like yesterday. I was just emailing Paul and saying, hey, do you have one of these sirens yet? Because I found a video that he had from like 8 years ago and I was like, I don't know if he'll have one, but he still does. So if you're interested, I'm pretty sure he still has one more siren available, but he gets them from everywhere. So there's an abundance of them. So they are very, very, very abundant. But it's just getting one and going through the steps of acquiring one of these. Mostly being, like I said, importing, because that's what I would do for this guy, which actually did not cost that much. Like I said, TH Weiss is the way to go, especially if you are in that area. And I'm pretty sure they do service a lot more areas than just the O'Hare Airport, I think. Looks like they had some offices in different spots, but either way, it has happened. And yeah. As you can see, that's a nice old industry standard 1.75" thick door. It's nice little wheels on the bottom there. But yeah, they're big. They're good size. They're not humongous, but they're definitely a conversation starter. It's like whenever I just walk in the garage, that's immediately where your attention just gets drawn to, because it's just big enough. I would take those off, but even with penetrating oil, Paul was able to get them off. And yeah, they're pretty stiff, but they can come off, but I don't want to risk anything. Yeah, very nice. Very, very nice. Trying to think if there's anything else I should say here. There is a ramp up time on here, so you can make the siren, you know, wind up or coast down slower, faster, however. And I will say this is actually pretty small. My hands are actually not that big, and this inverter, it does a lot for its size. But another thing to keep in mind is if you get one of these inverters, are these monstrous capacitors, and they will hurt you or whoever touches it the wrong way, or if it's still energized. Paul even showed me, if you just unplug it and you press that, siren will wind up almost halfway. So yeah, definitely when handling this, I don't even bother touching the aluminum down there. I just grab it like this because it's small, and that's plastic, it won't conduct. And you can just lift it real light, real easy. But just always beware, even this end, you know, because that goes in, that could just backfeed in. So if you were to touch that and you're touching ground, you get a nice nasty shock from that. So just be careful. And that's the thing. If you're just getting into this, this is the information I'll give you, because it's, you know, worthwhile taking all that into consideration. But you know what you're doing? Well, you know what you're doing. That's awesome. So if you're looking to get one of these, it can happen. I'm pretty young, and I will say that if you have the aptitude and the want, you'll make it happen. So if you're, again, really interested, go for it. Sure is something. That's basically kind of the where, when, how, why situation story of this siren. And we'll be winding it up right now. Alrighty, without further ado, here we go.